because I think about the people who cared that much to influence me and know that it was going to have an impact on me and my family, I carry that with me whenever I do other things too. I don't just think about the deal. I think about how is it going to make this person feel? Like, how am I going to be able to take the stress out of their life and allow them to transition to whatever else needs to happen?
Welcome to Deals in Aloha podcast, where we talk about real estate deals, hope to leave a lasting impact with our audience, and of course, spread aloha.
Gee.
You can find us on all social media platforms at Kamohai and Tristyn. Please like, subscribe, share, do all the things. We're trying to get this out to as many people as possible. And let's go.
Let's go. Today is fun because we have our friend on. Today we have Ingryd Hernandez. She is a real estate investor and realtor out of Arizona. She's from her company called Senior Gaps. And I'm just excited to hear your story, stuff that I don't know, hopefully, which will be fun. But we met through a joint mentorship that I think changed both of our lives. And of course, we became friends through that. So Ingryd Hernandez, everybody.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on here. I was like instantly in love with the both of you. So I'm really happy that we became friends, and we love Hawaii. Like, that's where we went to honeymoon, and it's just, it's a very special connection to us.
Yeah, we got to get you guys back here. And I know we're missing one of the other halves today, and which we're going to talk about because I want to talk about that relationship and how you work together. One of the questions we get all the time is like, how do you work with your spouse? How do you handle the personal and business life? But we'll get into all that.
But shout out, Mark. You're amazing. Okay. So first things first, how the heck did you get into real estate?
Yeah. So I originally got into real estate in 2013. I went and got my license as an agent. And I was like, well, if I get my license as an agent, I'm sure that this is my path to being an investor. I will say I don't think I had a strong sense of like direction. So I was just kind of grasping at straws. I do know that my husband's cousin was our realtor when we bought a house, and in my husband's family, there's several realtors. And so I was like, oh, if you want to get into real estate, that's how you start. And they own some property. So that's how I got into real estate. But the risk with getting your license is that you could become a service worker, much like a bartender, much like a waitress, like you become service for other people who are actually drinking, right? Or who are eating in a restaurant or whatever.
That's an interesting way to explain it.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. So you're not necessarily in real estate. You're a service worker of real estate. So that's how I will say, quote unquote, got started. But we did an accidental house hack. So we bought a house out in the city of Maricopa here in Arizona. And we were like, should we sell now? Because we wanted to move. And we moved, but we found out about the whole capital gains thing. And so we made it a rental. We're like, let's just make it a rental for 2 years, wait for it to like be worth a little bit more, and then we'll sell. So that's what we did. We made some cash from that back in like 2017. And I want to say we had around $40,000 in our bank account. And I was like, this should be enough for us to get started in real estate. We waited a while though. The pandemic hit. By the way, even though I had my license, I was a part-time agent. I had a full-time job and in like the data management space. And then when the pandemic hit, we had to lay people off, like people who I didn't think deserved to be laid off. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if they're gone, I'm the next person to be gone. Sorry, the language. That'll happen a few times. I have to remember to move.
All good.
And then, so after that, it really scared me. And I was like, we need to get serious about how we need to bring other verticals of income. And then I was like, okay, we still have this money in the bank, not growing, by the way. I should have been, lending it as a private money lender for people who actually know how to grow it.
Right.
And we found, our mentorship through YouTube University, got into it. I spent a good 8-9 months learning, like understanding and learning. Cause I'm somebody like, if I don't understand it well enough, like if I don't bookworm on it, I am not somebody who can just jump off the cliff. I need to know how deep is that water? Where do those rocks end? Let me go investigate and then I'll jump off the cliff. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I got started. And we did our very first deal, or I got my very first deal under contract September of 2021. And since then, we now own 11 properties. We flipped, I don't know, I would say close to 15 or more properties. So in the last 2.5 years. And
sick.
That's a ton. That's a ton.
And then what? And then I wholesale. I do some wholesaling in between. So yeah.
Okay, so there's so much to unpack there, like for real. But I think I want to start at we get so many people that are like, I have a full-time job, but I want to invest. And like, should I quit my job? Like, what should I do? And I just want to hear your journey, like, because I know that you held on to your W-2 for a long time. And we like had conversations about this, like, should I quit? Should I not quit? You know what I mean? So it's like, just tell us more about that journey and like what you would say to someone that's struggling with that decision.
Yeah. I would first say, like, understand your personality. Like, we just talked about mine, where somebody who takes the time to understand all of that, even though I'm seeing other people jumping off the cliff, I need to understand like the physics of it all. That tells me I'm a bit more conservative. I'm more risk averse. And, the whole point of doing this is not to make yourself so anxious and riled up that you become paralyzed, because that's very dangerous in real estate too.
Absolutely.
Indecision can cost you a lot of money as well. And so you don't want to do that. So for me, first understand what kind of personality you have. And if you have a W-2 and you have a personality more like mine, I think you can do both things. Does that mean you have to give up on the TV you watch and all the extra going out and partying? Yeah, it does. Like, how bad do you want it? People ask me, like, how are you able to do so much for so long? And I was like, because I looked at my life, figured out what matters to me most, and I cut out the things that aren't going to generate things for me that are good for me. So you just kind of have to have that hard look in the mirror and say, where am I putting my time? And in my opinion, when you have a day job, a W-2, I literally used to call my leads that a virtual assistant would set up for me first. Like, so they would warm up the leads first, find out like, hey, I have a seller who was raised their hand and they do want to sell. And a lot of them were, not real leads, but you kind of have to sift through all of that. And I would work from 4 to 7:30. So from 4 to 7:30, after I was done with my day job, I would go into my night hustle. And then it was Monday through Thursday. So Monday through Thursday, I would call those leads. And on the 7th day, after committing to doing that every day, I got my first contract.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Crazy.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I remember when we first got started in real estate, I still had my full-time job. I was still running a whole nother company. And he was full-time. And, but we always wanted to do real estate together. It was never a single person thing. It was always going to be a duo, but I slowly transitioned into it being full-time and slowly left my job because I still had the stability from our W-2. We had children. Like, there's so much to think about. Yeah. And I think I'm a little different from you in that, like, I'm like ready to jump into the deep end and like just have somebody throw me floaties. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit more risky, but I still kept my W-2. I still waited a little bit until I think we were in a position where it's like, okay, this is going to produce income for our family and we're going to be okay. But you don't have to like burn all the bridges and jump all the way in, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? Because you hear a lot of people say that sometimes, you know, that you need to burn the bridges, go all in. But I like your approach way better. Like sit back, figure out what it is you actually want. What are your goals? What do you want it to look like? And then there's actually a ton of positives of having a W-2 income when you're in real estate, right? We can qualify for things that we can't qualify when we're just when we're just running our business, you know what I mean? So I love that. And I highlight that too. If you want, this is not the easiest thing in the world. We have to make sacrifices, but those sacrifices can allow you know what I mean? It is possible. And I think that's the thing, right? Like it is okay to hold on to your W-2 job. This is your okay right now, because there is some positive things that come with it.
Well, it's also that part about being super self-aware and like doing the internal work to figure out what works for you, because any guru you see on social media is going to tell you that this is the way that you have to do it. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you. So being super self-aware and like doing the 7 layers of why and figuring out why you even want to be into real estate and what avenue you want to go into it and what capacity, like that's all a critical foundational piece that I think a lot of people overlook.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And going back to what you said, Kamohai, where you aren't even going to be bankable, meaning you're not going to be able to get a loan for the first 2 years of running your business. So by keeping a W-2, I actually was a loan sponsor on a couple of loans for other people who I was really close to, who had access to their P&L. I know they're making money. And they paid me to actually help them get these loans. So as a loan sponsor, I was making money. So you can leverage your W-2 and make money in other ways as well. So
smart. So smart. Okay, so now tell us about that first deal that you talked about.
So the first deal that I laugh because again, I'm risk averse, and here I am like on this call with the seller, and we chose markets that were similar to Arizona. So we were calling into Las Vegas and like the Henderson area. So Clark County, basically. And I was on the phone with somebody who had lost their job, wasn't making, they actually owned the property free and clear. Knowing that now, I think I would have taken a different approach on this deal, but it was a great deal. But they told me exactly how much they wanted when I was on the phone. And, you know, in our mentorship, they teach you what not to say and what to say. And even though the number was amazing, I was like,
I'm not sure if we can do that.
Let me see if we can come up to your number, right? Yeah, but he was somebody who didn't have groceries. Like his phone was about to be turned off. You know, he was having some extreme experiences trying to like live life. So I literally bought him groceries, paid for his phone because I was like, I need to get access to you so that we can finish this transaction. Yeah, and we gave him a 30-day post-possession. But on that first deal, I'm sitting there comping it, you know, when he's telling me what he wants. And I look up the address on Google. And Google shows me the house behind the house.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So like this house so his house was a manufactured home on a slightly like nicer lot, but like, but it was all, you know, manufactured homes around him in his subdivision. And then behind him were all these track stucco houses that are completely not a comp.
Totally different.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make so much money on this house because he wants 120 and this house is worth like 3 something ARV, you know? But I was wrong. I didn't know it at the time. I contracted it thinking the ARV was so much higher. Luckily, I was just reviewing everything. I was like, okay, I'm going to go walk Google's maps, you know, like the street. And I was like, wait, what the heck? Again, I'm already under contract. And I was like, oh no, I thought it was this house. It's actually the house behind it. But when I did that, like there was still enough spread. So the ARV was like 210, and actually I hit it on the nose. We sold it for 210 eventually.
Wow. Nice.
So what was the dispo? Did you flip that one? Like, what did you do?
Okay. So, I, you know, obviously we were being taught like, hey, wholesale, build up your capital, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, but this looks like it's super cosmetic. I go, I don't know anything about flipping, but it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to fix this up. Like I interviewed a few agents that were in the market, and I got blessed with an amazing agent. His name was Hector, and he had the hookups for everybody. So everything that I thought this was going to be more like a $25,000 flip. It cost me 15, and that included like a new roof.
Wow. That's wild.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I say a new roof, but what I think they did is they added a layer of shingles, you know, because you can still do that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, holy cow. So yeah, it was a nice deep clean. Like I even paid the housekeepers extra money because of just the kind of elbow grease they had to add to that house. And I thought I was going to have to replace a bathroom, but that's just how nasty it was. But they cleaned the crap out of that. So it was great. And then we fixed a flooring issue, I think a window, and the roof. Like really, that was it, $15K. And so we ended up netting $54,000. So
that is a home freaking run, girl. Oh my gosh. So you're like us. You're a glutton for punishment, and you went straight into flipping instead of wholesaling like everyone tells you to do.
Yeah, I never even walked the house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It tells you about like having the right resources, because Hector was amazing. Like I didn't have to do anything. Like he was awesome. So we actually told him, although he never brought us another deal, I was like, hey, do a deal with us and we'll just partner with you because you got all the hookups. But
you got all the things.
So let's kind of talk about that. I think that's a huge part of real estate, is that it's a person relationship business before. That's all it is. And real estate is a byproduct of that, is, you know, people. So like, how did you meet Hector? Like, how has networking and relationships grown your business? Because I know you are the master networker.
Yeah, you are quite the networker.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's so funny because people remind me of that, but it just being friendly with people and getting to know people, I think just comes naturally to me. It's a superpower of mine that I think was accidentally built up. I'm an immigrant to this country. By the way, I just got my citizenship like a few weeks ago.
Wow.
I saw.
That's awesome.
Thank you. But one of the things that happened when I moved to the States is that we moved a lot. Like I moved like, I don't know, I think like 13 times by the time I was like 18 or 20. Wow. And so that moving that much is going to do two things for you. Either you're going to cocoon up and you're like, don't talk to me, I'm an introvert. Or it's going to make you butterfly out and you want to know everybody. And so I felt like I was keeping score in the back of my head to see like how many friends I could make. At least that's my childish like remembrance of like just making friends with as many people as possible. I vividly remember as a kid saying like, you know, if I'm going to move this much, I'm going to make as many friends as I can, because why not? Like, let's make the best of this, right? So I got to meet so many people that I didn't know it was building a skill for me, that I would get to know so many people that I know. But yeah, like that wasn't like an intention. I wasn't like, I'm going to go and be the best networker ever. Yeah. No. But yes, I think, you know, the old adage of your network is your net worth, I think is very true. And the way we found Hector was I leveraged the mentorship we were in. I said, hey, does anybody have any agents they know here? And then we we interviewed them. We asked them like, hey, have you ever flipped? You know, what do you know about working with investors who flip? And then we were very strategic in the kinds of questions we were asking. And I honestly think that we were blessed with somebody beyond what we were expecting. We weren't expecting what Hector brought to the table. I was expecting that we would have to take a couple of trips to Vegas to kind of manage things. But we only took one trip, and it was my husband and our cousin who was who's our partner in that flipping business at the time. And they went, and the house was nasty, but made sure that he got moved out. And then, that's the way it worked.
Yeah, that's so cool. So how did you guys pick the markets you were marketing to?
So, the way that we were marketing at the time was just where we felt comfortable. I kind of tuned out the noise about what people were saying about competition. And because I was like, well, even if there is competition, people are obviously doing deals. That's sort of the mentality was around it. And plus I would say we were exploring more than we were saying we got to do business, right? Again, back to the W-2, I was in a very privileged position that our backs were not up against the wall. Like getting deals was like, we were able to explore and express ourselves differently. We didn't have to feel like, oh my God, how are we going to feed our kids, right? So as a result of that, we got to figure things out a little bit differently. And so we chose Arizona because I'm an agent here. I got a lot of access to data. And then I heard it more than once that Vegas and the Henderson area were very similar to Arizona. So we decided to also pick Clark County. And those are the markets that we marketed to.
Yeah, love that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love the drown out the noise of, oh, it's too competitive, because that, I feel like we were told the same thing when we first started back in like 2018, 2019. It was like, oh, it's too competitive here. You'll never get a deal, or you'll never be successful, or like, don't even try. And we're the type of personalities that's like, if you tell me that, I'm like,
you're going to want
fuel to the fire. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to want it more. So, but I feel like that discourages so many people that they're like, oh my gosh, there's not enough to go around. And obviously we come from the same school of abundance and believing that there's more than enough and collaboration. But what would you say to somebody that's like, I'm struggling with this abundance thing?
I think, again, I'm a nerd, so I'll look at the data. So in my opinion, I was like, this market is so big, and even do something as simple as go drive your neighborhoods, take 4 hours to do that. Go drive around and see how many ugly houses you find. This has nothing to do with marketing to them, but simply to identify how many opportunities there actually are. And I still do that. Like, I cannot help myself. If we're in a neighborhood, I'm constantly writing down like the house numbers. Like, wait, what street did we just go by?
Reverse.
Because the reality is that once you start like, oh my God, I have pages of houses now. You realize that there's so much opportunity out there, that and did you know, like, there's 40% of the houses out there are owned free and clear?
Yeah,
40%. So if you're listening to the doomsdayers of the recession, which I know we're probably going to go into one, but the reality is that even in a recession, there's still going to be so much opportunity.
Absolutely.
Just simply using the data that isn't sent to you through some CNN filter or through some Fox filter. It's just through your observation filter. Go drive your neighborhoods, go drive the hood during the day, and you'll see how many houses there actually are out there that need us to help, make them beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that perspective on it too, because I think when we turn it around and we're like, okay, it's like our responsibility to revitalize these things. You know what I mean? Like they need people like us to come in and like make these neighborhoods a community again, and sometimes when you just flip the script on the perspective that you're looking at something, literally a whole new world happens. You know what I mean? And I think you can take that into a lot of different aspects of your life, but I do like looking at it that way. I like how you put that.
Love that. Okay, so you did your first deal, made
54 grand.
54
You
grand.
did better than us. We broke even.
Yeah, you did way better than us. Yeah. And I was at that house every freaking day, stressing, crying, whatever. Yeah.
So good.
Still have PTSD a little bit, I think. But then like what happened next? I mean, you were still working. Like what was the progression of how you got to where you are now?
So the momentum started to hit. I believe momentum means a whole lot. Before going into this mentorship, I didn't have a lot of, I'll say, spiritual awakening. Like it was more like, and I actually think that's the most dangerous part of ourselves. Like you can get super complacent, super into your routines. You get up, you go to work, you feed your kids, you go to bed. Like there's no bigger dreams or bigger pursuits. But I do believe that once your energy is aligned to something that is bigger and something that's more part of who you want to become, not necessarily who you are at the time, that, you know, your brain will take you there. You know, you just got to condition your RAS, as they say. So your reticular activating system. So my momentum started, and a month later, it impacted my husband. He was like, he knew that we needed to know more, and he was totally for joining a mentorship, but he wasn't really sold on the fact that it could be a success for us. And so that proof of concept hit hard in Vegas, and he's like, oh my God, like if we could do that, if we could get that under contract, I think we can do this. On his drive to Vegas, he was doing some follow-up, and he got the next contract for us.
Oh, wow. No way. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the mastermind was coming up that December in our mentorship, and he was able to, like that dispo or that contract got us 26 grand, but we squatted up with somebody on it. So we took half. They took half, and then we used that money to reinvest in ourselves through the mastermind.
Love that.
So cool.
Yeah.
And then literally month after month, we started getting a deal.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Where were you getting your deals from? Was it the network? Were you doing your own marketing? Like what? I know you said you had a cold caller that was, you know, doing the outreach for you.
Yeah. So the first 2 deals came from our marketing, but all of a sudden things kind of froze up. But I was still naturally networking with people and letting them know what we wanted. Like I really wanted to buy a house to buy and hold. And literally, so like October was when we got the house from the buyer. That's when Mark contracted our next deal. And then that December, we got somebody brought me a deal. And I bought my first sub 2 out in Houston, Texas. So we closed 1 month before my full year anniversary in the mentorship. And then ever since then, I was like, well, that was way easier to like just reach out to people and let them know what I wanted. And again, I'm bankable. We had some cash in the bank so that we could buy properties. And I decided to kind of switch gears a little bit and like start letting people know in our mentorship and outside. So other wholesalers that I've started networking with, and then people started bringing me deals in ways where like maybe they need help and they need a trusted help because they've been burned in the past and somebody said they were going to help them, but didn't actually help them. So, I helped a few people close deals. Like my biggest deal was done that February so we got a deal, remember September 2021. By February, we contracted my next biggest deal. And that was a $250,000 assignment.
Wow.
These are all JVs, right? Yeah. And so that $250,000 though was split 3 ways. So $50K to Dario, the guy who took the 5 minutes to talk to the seller and bring them to me. I closed the seller, and then our friend dispoed it. Wow. And then, just by JVing. Since then, it's really been a JV scenario, and I'm known as a buyer and a closer. So that's how my majority of leads come to me.
Yeah, that's so cool.
All free. It's amazing.
Essentially, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I want to switch gears to how you and Mark are able to work together and that dynamic and what that looks like in roles. Because, I mean, whenever we see you in Arizona, you guys are together or you're at a Beyonce concert with your girls. But you know what I mean? Like, and we work together very closely. We run our business together. We have different roles and whatever. So, but a lot of people are like, how do you work with your spouse? Like, that's so hard. So what would you?
Yeah. A lot of times our answer is maybe you shouldn't. So, but you know what I mean? I think it does take a special person, and it is, we definitely have to figure it out. So how was that process for you guys?
Yeah.
So I still think we're finding, sort of our roles, but right now I actually think our roles will likely look different in about 6 months when I've sort of stabilized what this new life looks like without having a W-2. But I've always been very alpha, like, in terms of like decision making for our family and like charging forward with something again, but I'm doing it in a more conservative approach, right? But my husband, he got his real estate license in 2017. And so at the time we were both realtors, and I was realizing I was growing that pipeline and I needed his help. He's like my live-in handyman is what we call him. So he's more like my field guy or my agent guy. So like the way that we've done our flips so far, at least in Arizona, is I take care of like the acquisition and the raising capital. We have another partner who we work with, actually, another couple partners. So like we're two couples, right? The Hunts. They're the Hunts and we're the Hernandez. So we call each other the H team.
That's so
I love
good.
that.
Yeah,
so
I love
good.
them. I love the Hunts.
Yeah. And so Angel takes care of our accounting. Steven is the designer worker, like the project management overseer. Mark is our listing agent. And I'm like acquisitions and capital raising, although like the Hunts also do some capital raising too. So that's sort of the roles we've all been playing so far. And it's worked really well. Like Mark and I don't work side by side all day though. You know, we have our group chat. If we need something like beyond what is centric to our role, we text each other to see who can pick up where we need it. And it's worked really well. I love our dynamic. I love the Hunts. They share so many of our values, and it was like four peas in a pod, honestly. So
that's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean that brings up a good question, is because you've been in like a lot of partnerships, right? And like and we get this question asked to us too, like how do you find a good partner? Were you just on your way and it kind of fell into your lap, or was there
have a screening that you do with people? Like, have you ever turned joint ventures down because it wasn't a good alignment? You know, like what would you say to somebody that's trying to like find a partner or wants to joint venture?
So there's actually an exercise that you can do. And I would say my first partnership taught me that I needed to not just jump into a partnership. So not my first, my second. Our first was with our cousin, who is still technically partners with us, but that we have a different approach to that partnership. It's way more laid back. When I bought the property in Houston, Texas, I did have a partner. I did set up upfront expectations about what our roles would be. I did not go through an assessment that I'm about to talk to you about. And then I eventually had to buy him out of that partnership because it wasn't working. And so that cost us an extra, it wasn't a lot. It was like $6,000 or $6,500 or something like that. So, but it was money well spent. I'm very respectful. I feel like I do attract respectful people. And we can still talk to each other. We're not like good friends, but like I respect him. He respects me and we're cordial. Yeah. Like you won't ever hear me speaking badly of that person because I don't think he deserves it. I just think that we all had we had good intention and then the execution wasn't there. So that's that. But there's an exercise you can actually go through. And this is what I would recommend is think about your life and think about the 3 most influential people in your life. Like the people who have made a complete different, like when you think of them, you're like, they're so inspiring. They taught me so much. You know, it could be your grandmother. It could be your mother. It could be your, your boss at work. Because it could be your best friends, whatever. Pick the top 3. You got to pick the top 3. And then write down why. Like, what are the values they possess that you love so much and like you want to emulate? You write them all down. You know, try to go for like 15 or 20 if you can. And then you overlay all 3 of them. And then you pick your top 5. If you see a pattern of those 5 within all 3, those are your top values. So for me, like service is a huge part of the value proposition. Being kind is a huge value that I look for people, you know? And so integrity, that's another one, you know? And so once you understand those values, you have your potential future partner go through that exercise. And guess what? If they don't even want to go through that exercise, that's not somebody you should be pairing up with, right?
Wrong partner.
And then you compare those values and now you have data. If you don't have at least 3 values overlapping between what they think is important and what you think is important, you're probably not going to be good partners.
So true.
Dude, I love that. I've heard something similar. It might have been you that told me this before, but I think that's a good exercise for everyone to do, even when you're not looking for a partnership. I don't think we spend enough time figuring out who we are and what we are. And what our values are. Like I'm asking myself all these questions that you're just asking. Like, I want to go and do that now. You know what I mean? So man, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Well, and it's simple. It's simple. It just takes a little bit of time and it's an easy way to do like a spot check on yourself and then a spot check on a potential partner. I think that's very, very good advice.
One thing that I've always admired about you guys is you seem like you're very purpose driven. Like there's passion behind everything you do. And I think, like it's not always that way. Like I can look at certain people and just from an outside perspective, I can be like, man, that guy's just about money. He's going to do whatever it takes at any cost, you know what I mean? And it doesn't seem you guys aren't that way, right?
No,
and
not
so
at all.
I know for Tris and I, when we got started, we're just trying to crawl our way out of the hole we were in. And we were kind of like, okay, we just need to make money for our family to survive. But at a certain point, there was a switch for us and it became more of a purpose-driven mission. And I feel like you guys are that way too. Have you always just been like that? Or
where did that come from?
Yeah, did that come? I mean, you mentioned service, right? And a lot of people that not going to be necessarily one of their top things, you know, like where did that come from?
Well, again, I went through that exercise to pull my values and that came. So when I thought of my top 3 people who had a great impact in my life, it was my grandmother, one of my best friends growing up. She's still one of my best friends. And then my old boss, like who like believed in me and like He's been amazing. He used to tell me, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, you know, and didn't just tell me things like that. He took me to go get educated. Like I went with him and his wife, and they showed me these meetup stuff that they were doing. It was like stocks. It was a little different, but like he was exposing me to things that I never got exposure to as, like, you know, a dirt poor immigrant moving here who would never have that exposure because it's just not built for that, for those communities. And so because I think about the people who cared that much to influence me and know that it was going to have an impact on me and my family, I carry that with me whenever I do other things too. I don't just think about the deal. I think about, how is it going to make this person feel? Like, how am I going to be able to take the stress out of their life and allow them to transition to whatever else needs to happen? And so, I genuinely believe that you don't have to make the money a part of that conversation first. It doesn't have to be a priority. The money will come. Like, you don't have to go and chase. Like, think about, like, chasing after someone, you know, when you're chasing after someone, like, they don't like that. Like and so I think money kind of works the same way. When you're working that hard to chase after it, it kind of goes away. Where for me, it's like, I want to attract it. I want, and for my soul and the way that I move through life, like doing acts of service through real estate is where I feel my cup is most filled. A huge reason why I love the Hunts. We did a flip with them. So it was a straight up JV, right? No LLCs together, nothing like that. Just to see what the experience would be like. And we got to know them more. And, you know, they have amazing, like, interviews they've done where they talk about how they grew each other as a couple, like how much they invested in each other. And like, when I was watching this one podcast they did, I was like, I am so in love with this couple. I love how much they love each other. Like, they're such, like, I love how much you guys love each other, right? Like that kind of thing, when you have a lot of love in your heart and you see all the love, like, you just are so happy for other people.
Totally.
And so when they were talking about the business model that he was following, and I was a caregiver for 8 years too. Like, my mom was a caregiver, and this is how I was able to get through college and, like, feed myself. I was a caregiver. And so I was, again, my grandmother, my husband's grandmother, who I was really close to. Like, I love old people. I can't help it. And so Stephen has this business model where he goes to communities that are 55 plus communities that focus on, like, memory care and assisted living. And if they have any seniors who have said, yes, hey, I want to move into your community, but I'm struggling because my family doesn't live here and I can't, you know, sell my property, sell my personal belongings. I need help, but I don't want to be taken advantage of, you know.
Right.
We want to have a good name with all of these communities and let them know that they can trust us to do that for their seniors. And so that's been our focus. That's what Senior Gaps is about. And when Stephen told me about this, I was like, I need to be with you in this, because real estate is fun. Don't get me wrong. I love design. I'm like, ooh, I love those knobs, you know, that. But at the same time, it's like, when you're flipping, and if you're not part of the seller story, it just, you know, people know me as a buyer. If they just give me a deal and all the numbers fit, it's like, okay, but it's not fulfilling. And so being a part of the seller story and knowing that I have positively impacted their life, like, that fulfills me. Like, that fills my cup up and, like, makes me happy. And then I love talking about the stories because, like,
you are speaking our love language. There's nothing better and long lasting than that emotional income. Yes, you have to make money to live and live abundantly. All of that's there, but it comes when I think you're in this place of, like you said, service. Like, the projects that stick with us and make the most impact and even keep the motivation going to keep going at times when things are hard are those ones where we're direct to seller. We made that impact and we helped that person out of a shitty situation. And then even more for us is when we're able to put a local family back into that home directly and sell it directly to a family below market value. Like that's the juice. Like that's it.
Well, I feel like that's the cool thing about real estate, right? And I think that's why we've like unlocked the best possible vehicle. I mean, it's always been there, but for us, right, deciding to go into real estate is because you can combine those two things. Yes. I don't know a ton of industry that you can make such a good living and build something super special for your family, but you're helping people tremendously. Like it, and you combine those two things, the best of both worlds. It's real estate's the best. I don't know how
we're biased, obviously, right? But like we haven't found, I mean, I've been in other businesses and so have you, and I've never been able to get both sides, you know?
Yeah. I 100% agree. Actually, we're looking into assisted living right now as well, because
I saw that story.
I saw that.
You just said something about that on your Instagram. I'm like,
I remember when we were in Arizona, I think for one of the masterminds, the first one we went to. I don't even remember the year or the month, but that's the first time we met the Hunts. And because April went to that one, right? And their siblings.
Their family.
Their family, yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh. He was talking about that idea.
He was. And they were just getting started. Yeah. They weren't even in the mentorship yet. They were talking about wanting to get started in real estate. And he was talking about it to me.
Or they had like just joined. Like they were so fresh. And I just remember them talking about that. Yeah. And it's just so cool that when you see people take action on something that they're passionate about, you know, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's also a very rewarding thing. And now you're a part of it. Should we be a part of it?
I know. So tell me why assisted living? I mean, I know all of that other stuff, and I don't want to get too in the weeds because I know you could probably talk about it forever, but is that kind of where you're headed right now? Or what do you think?
Well, again, with this specific niche where we're helping seniors transition, it's like, why not also have the ability to help them get housed in the future? So when you look at the assisted living model, at least here in Arizona, Kamohai, you were talking about being able to combine like heart with money, right? Assisted living is full of that. Like, honestly, if you want to brighten your day, like go and be a volunteer at assisted living places and they will make you crack up. Like they love getting people who care enough to go see them and ask them how their day was, ask them about their history. Like it's such a good feeling, you know, and knowing that like they deserve to be taken care of and be taken care of, you know, well. So in Arizona, you can set up assisted livings. I actually own a residential assisted living property, but I'm a landlord. I don't operate it. I don't make money from the operation. I just collect rent. Right. But having been a caregiver, knowing what that was like, it can be a lucrative business that combines those things that I care about. So, I think the average bed here in Arizona makes $5,000 and you can have up to 10 in one house. So, you know, you can do the math there. And if you hit the luxury market around it. So Isabella Guarino, who's like super famous for putting an association of residential assisted living. Like, first of all, the life expectancy of people who go to RALs, so residential assisted living, like goes up tremendously because they get more one-on-one care versus these very large facilities that are like, you know, 20, 30, 50, 100. They get to be taken care of the best when you have these small operations. So when you have these small operations, you give them better care and you make good money from it. So it's one of those where like, okay, if you can own it and you can operate it and you're taking care of our seniors. By the way, and I think you guys know the data too, like they keep calling it the senior tsunami. We're like in the beginnings of the senior tsunami where like boomers are retiring and they need a place to be taken care of. And so there's not enough beds. There's not enough beds. So if you don't have, like, we're seeing a need. So it's like, okay, well, how do we become a part of the solution?
Yeah, fill that need.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love that. I love that. I'm excited for you guys. I feel like we need to chat more offline about it. I know Hawaii. Yeah. Well, the thing is like that's a nationwide thing. That's not just a state specific thing. You know what I mean? Totally. So like there has to be a need in every single market that somebody's in. So I love it.
Yeah, and you also talked a little bit. You own a property that has an assisted living business that runs on it, but you collect rent from that, right? So now, why not? And especially with what you guys are doing already, vertically integrate that piece. Sense. Yeah. So now you can offer the actual facility and business. The thing is that it is a whole nother business, right? Yeah. And it's about learning that business and building that business as well. But it works in concert with each other. It's almost kind of like a no-brainer to do.
And honestly, there's so many nurses that are burnt out with working their hospital life, but being of service is still such a part of their DNA that helping run these assisted living properties, because you do want a nurse, like there's, and I'm still learning. Okay. So I don't know all the things, but you need somebody who's a licensed nurse or a physician assistant. And then they need a manager's license of it. So we're just starting to learn like what's the staff kind of need to look like. But our goal would be to find people who want to operate it. Maybe they're burnt out, being nurses in hospitals. And now they're like, okay, I could run 3 properties and like have the caregiving staff, making sure, all the medicine is properly dispensed and kind of oversee that. So for me, it's like, we would also be helping that nurse who wants to leave legacy and wants to make good money, but also wants to have a better work-life balance. So
and they have that expertise that you guys don't necessarily have, not being from the medical industry, right? But then it's another business, so another revenue stream that you're creating for yourself, but it's not going to take up all of this time in the world. It's still going to be partially passive. So that just makes so much sense on so many levels.
So cool. So what does your business look like right now? I know you talked about the hunts, but you have like a bunch of partners. I mean, where are you getting deals from right now?
I mean, you're flipping.
What are you guys? Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, because you guys are doing a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, firstly, I think the last couple of years was really about exploring and like, what am I good at? What can I do? What's the proof of concept that actually works? And for the record, sitting on phones, calling, and lead managing was not the thing for me.
Not the sauce.
Not your thing.
So could I do it? Yes. And by the way, I'm really good at it.
You're good at it. Yeah, you're
amazing at it.
I don't know what it is about my personality, but whatever you give me, if I think I might disappoint you, I'm going to do really good at it because I don't like disappointing people. Yeah. And so I've learned that about myself. Like it doesn't, like if you told me go be the best walker person, like I will be. I'm going to put that vest on. I'm going to get those people across. I'm going to give like the dirty. It doesn't matter what it is. Like if I'm going to do it, there's no point in doing something you're not going to like put your effort into. Right. That's just my personality. But anyway, I'm thinking like, okay, this is the second half of my life, more or less. So where am I going to spend my time where I think I'm going to love life? And honestly, it kind of scares me how much I have loved not having my W-2 and having like the ability to kind of swerve to doing like podcasts like this, going to meetings, like actually creating like deals out of that. And it's like, wait a minute, but I'm supposed to feel like a burden or something. Like what is happening here? Like, why is this so, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying like, it feels lighter. Like, and it's just, interesting. It's been interesting. Again, I'm just getting started now, not having a W-2. And so I hope what that means is that exponential growth. But the focus right now, because the reality is, I used to think, okay, I'm going to buy 10 properties and that's going to be enough to replace my W-2 job. And then I can do whatever I want. No, that's not reality. That's not real. Somebody sold you a bad bill of goods if you think that's the case. Like I take almost no money from my rentals. And that's because I haven't owned them long enough. They're not going to actually pay you until 7 to 10 years after you've purchased them. So I'm letting them do its thing. And I'm like, okay, I'll keep adding, 2 or 3 properties into my portfolio every year, but that's no longer my focus. It used to be.
Yeah.
Right now, actively flipping is where I'm going to feed my family from. So our goal was to do 12 when I was working, but that's because we're in partnership with the Hunts. Yeah. They don't know this, but I want to do 20 now as a result.
Love that.
You heard
Let's
the Hunts. She wants to do 20.
I'll text them after this. Right. And then continue to build out, senior gaps. So cool. Being able to use that as a way for us to either build our portfolio or flip. I think when the Hunts did it their first year and a half or something, they got like 20 flips out of that or something.
So
amazing. Cool. In the 20s. Yeah. So it pays, but like they haven't had anybody fully focus on it for them. And I know I can be that person. Like you guys mentioned, I know I can network. I just got to find the right person in that facility to let them know what value we can provide. So
totally. I love that. And 20 is totally doable, especially with a team, like a solid team. Like you guys would probably exceed that, to be honest with you.
So this brings up a good question. And I know you're very, you're like us. So like, we know there's a ton of opportunity out there, but we just had Jem on the podcast. Shout out Jem. He's so awesome. And he was talking a little bit about just how many people are in real estate in Arizona. And you guys are flipping in Arizona. How the heck is there any deals left for anyone else? Like everybody is out there doing it. You know what I mean?
Guru capital.
What is it like living in and doing real estate in the guru capital of the real estate world?
Yeah.
Well, I will say if you're super introverted and can't get your name out there and you're not networking with these wholesalers who need you, you're not going to see a whole lot. I love Jem. He is a good friend of mine here. He's so amazing. And he's actually counseled me a lot because he had to go through a W-2 transition as himself. And he's like, Ingrid, you don't even, I don't even think he's like, you don't even need to do 20. You just got to do like a solid, few.
Or something like that. Yeah.
And so getting his perspective, and again, there's no right or wrong way. It's like, what do you want and what kind of lifestyle do you want, And so Jem has taught me a lot. I think there will always be something to do here because there's so many gurus. And you need to be careful. Like I have started saying no more, like going to these events that, hey, Ingrid, this is an event, but it's free. It's a free event where all these people are like, okay, that's great. But I got to sit down and actually do the thing. So I do think that I'm going to have to like get myself in my bubble a little bit around the very specific focuses that I have with our partners, the Hunts. And then, so that's going to be priority number 1. And then priority number 2 is just the continuation of how I network and how I bring us opportunities. So,
I love that. I think as you transition in your real estate career and then just through phases of life, the filter gets stronger. I know we've had to do that too, that in the beginning, you're saying yes to everything and you should, because you're learning, you're growing, you're figuring it out. But then the yes becomes dirty, right? And you're like, if you say yes to something and then you're like
not really into it. You don't really want to do it, and you don't give it your best, and then you let somebody else down. You know what I mean?
Right,
which hurts in the end.
And I think I talked about this with you, and I think in the last mastermind, I was like, no, I'm into saying no right now. I'm in the season of no, and like that's okay. That doesn't mean like opportunity ceases to exist because you say no to more things than you say yes to. It just means you're being crystal clear on the path that you're going down.
Yeah.
I love that.
For
so,
sure.
Okay. What has been your biggest challenge so far in your real estate journey?
Oh, good question.
My biggest challenge was losing pretty big on a flip in Round Rock, Texas. It was my biggest challenge, but then it was met with like so much love. I was carrying around the burden because, again, I'm alpha. I'm the one that's making the decision. I'm the one looking for opportunities. And not that I didn't run these opportunities through, my husband and my cousin at the time. But because I'm the one that was fully involved in the deal, they weren't. I felt so much of the burden when we lost quite some money on it. So I thought we lost $55K. We actually lost a little bit more. I'm actually clearing up like the accounting with my bookkeeper, but we'll just say $55K for now.
Yeah.
And I seriously was in a funk. It was hard for me to see anything else as an opportunity because it made me feel like a failure. Like, I was like, how could I have gotten this so wrong? Like, how could I have not, like, I'm known for underwriting what's happening here. And then I spoke with a few people and they're like, no, honestly, I would have bought this deal. I would have done this. Like, you could not have predicted the unprecedented rate change that happened in 22. Like,
oh my gosh, girl,
it just was unprecedented.
Yes, we can relate so much. There's nothing like losing money on a deal that you know was a good deal to buy. And for some reason or multiple factors set into place, and then maybe it was execution or maybe it was a rate drop. Like, there's just so many things that come into play. But like, I have been on that downward spiral where you're like, God, I suck. Why am I out here even doing this? Like, I have no business doing this. I am a failure. I need to just pack it up and go back to my other job. Like, I suck. And sometimes it's hard to get out of that place. But then I remind myself that, like, okay, what did I learn from this? You're only failing if you're not learning from it and like trying to do better next time. And if you're in the industry long enough, obviously everyone will tell you you're going to lose money on good deals. You know?
How did you get out? How did you get out of that place?
So luckily we had been doing that program 75 Hard. And so my husband and I had started getting into a rhythm of one of our outside workouts being walking our neighborhood together. And then we were leveraging that time to really kind of talk. And because we weren't focusing time talking, but we would tell each other like, God, we love this. I like love that. And then I was carrying that in me and I was not expressing it. Like, and then finally one of the walks, like, I said exactly how I was feeling and kind of where things ended up, like where we were headed, because we were finally getting the property under contract and we had to choose a number that was not where I wanted us to be. And just all of it. And my husband was like, when I was basically having that therapy session with my husband. And again, like, this is why it's so important is to pick the right spouse.
Totally.
He was so amazing in how he talked to me with so much love and so much like, we are in this together. You shouldn't be feeling this way yourself. Like, and he would tell me like, because honestly, I never even wanted to get into fixing and flipping. I just wanted rentals. My husband was the one who wanted to get into fixing and flipping. And he's like, I'm the one who wanted this. And then you made it happen. And I was like, okay. So once he put perspective and the fact of the matter was that like we were in a financial position because of all the other successful deals that we had done, that we were going to be able to bear the grunt of that. And so, again, having a W-2, getting deals and not just spending that money stayed. Like we didn't do, like in my brain, I was like, we're not touching any money we make in the first 2 or 3 years. That's got to get reinvested, or it's got to put us in a, hey, if things heat up, that we're able to, and thank God that that's the mindset I had, because we were able to pay off our private money lenders who were in that deal. And then we had another deal in Tucson that we had a similar circumstance, but we kept the house. We just refinanced. It was a cash in refi, you know?
We know a lot about those. So 2022, 2023, we did a lot of cash in refinances.
Oh man.
Okay.
Love them so much.
Okay. Somebody who feels my pain. We had to put like $80,000 into the property. And so, and that was like, again, we were able to pay our private money lender. Like one of my absolute number one things is we have to do right by our private money lenders, people who are passive, you know, who believe in us and know that we're going to get it through. And so that was my biggest concern. And the fact that we were in a financial position to be able to pay everybody off. And even though we had to take it in the pants, like we were able to take care of our lenders, and that was a good feeling, honestly.
Well, that's that integrity part too, right? Like you said, no, you can trust me. This is what I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter if you make money or not. Those people need to be made whole. And I think that isn't emphasized enough when it comes to OPM, and when people don't realize, like, yes, that's how you do, you know, multiple deals, and that's how you can do wealth creation with multiple people. But at the same time, there's a level of responsibility.
I mean, it's like the highest level of responsibility
that needs to be portrayed.
Right.
And
that's what's not stressed enough, right? Especially when you're just getting started. It's like, we don't use our money, use other people's money. Like it's something that is just easy to do. And like, you just put in the deal and everything goes great. No,
you need to feel the weight of that responsibility and not take it lightly. And I love that you brought up, you know, the money management side of real estate, because what you see on social media are Lambos and all these fancy houses. And like, you know, I feel like people think that it's get rich quick and then get money and then just spend it. But I can't tell you how many times Profit First, that book, and money management, when you make money, because in real estate, you can make big chunks of money at one time, but what you do with it is really what makes it last and has allowed us to do cash in refis. And, you know, when we do take a $20,000 loss on a property, we're okay. You know, we can withstand that negative balance right now. You know what I mean? So, oh man, everybody should go read that book, Profit First.
Oh yeah. One of my favorite books. You know, it's funny. I waited so long to read it because I was like, ugh, a business book. And then I picked it up. Yeah. I read it in less than a day because I was I cried, I laughed. I was like, but this is a business book. What is happening here? And then
that's why he's just so talented.
I was so inspired by that book that, like, I think that next day I started Googling, like, okay, who does Profit First banking? Like, who's doing banking for that? And that's when I found my relationship with Relay, like Relay Financial. Right away, my experience was good with them. And I was like, hey, how do I promote you, but like get credit for it? So that was my first affiliate, like, relationship, because I was like, they're so good. And I didn't even necessarily care about the affiliate part. But I was like, this is such a cool banking platform.
Yes. No, Profit First has been game changing in our ability to scale our business, to withstand, to keep properties, just so many different things. Because I think and you don't have to be in real estate to do it. Like, it's literally any business that you're in. It's just a money management strategy that produces profits. It produces longevity in your business. So I love that so much.
I'm even more conservative than what Profit First teaches.
You're more,
I think we are too. I think we are too. And obviously those percentages that you allocate to funds are like different at different times, right? But like, I can't tell you. And yes, finding a bank. I remember going to my bank because I didn't know about Relay Financial when we implemented. Okay. But like when we went to our bank, she looked at me crazy because she's like, how many accounts? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
It was hysterical.
It was fun.
But so where can people find you? Like, I know you want to be found, my master networker girl.
Well, by the way, we're going to have you guys on our podcast.
We would love it. We would love to.
Love to.
So me and my rambunctious partner, Caroline Kane, she's doing so amazing right now. We have our Explain It podcast every Wednesday from 4 to 5. So you can find me live. And so we do our podcast live.
Love it.
It was the only way that I felt like I could do it and not like fuss over the production or anything like that. I'm like, hit record, post.
It's out there.
I love it.
Love it. And so the reason we also did it live was so that people had access to us in the communities that we're in. People want our time, and it's really difficult when it's just one-on-one time. So having them come on board, be on the live, ask their questions. A lot of them are like just getting started in real estate investing kind of questions, and then we're able to answer their question, and as a result, like
we're answering
a lot of people's questions.
That's so awesome. Yeah. I love that.
I need to start doing that. We just need to go live. Like, I don't know if once a week while we're filming, but we need to go live and do a Deals and Aloha live podcast where people can just ask us questions.
Yeah,
truly. Well, actually, when you guys do your meetups, you should have those live and then like have like a little setup like you're doing right now, and then people get to be a part of the broadcast.
That would be cool.
So we go live on IG, but we got to go live on YouTube.
I feel like we could set it up on this. You guys use StreamYard?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I have a StreamYard account too. I can just set it up.
We just have to do these things.
Yeah, we got to. See, you just gave us a good idea.
Of course. Of course. So, okay, so live again, what's the YouTube, and then what's the day and time again?
So my YouTube channel is just my name, Ingryd Hernandez. Ingrid with the Y, so INGRYD. And then we go live every Wednesday from 4 to 5 Arizona time, which is 1 to
2.
1 to 4 to 5.
Yeah, 1 to 2. What can I think of?
Yeah,
1 to 2 Hawaii time. Yeah.
Do you see what we have to deal with? Like, we always are like, wait, it's 3 hours, and then it's 2 hours, and then it's like 6 hours. It's
totally.
Hard.
Yeah. But if people DM me on my Instagram too, which is Ingrid_Hernandez, I'm generally, this is funny. When I was in my W-2, it was easier for me to be in my DMs on Instagram.
Yeah.
But now that like I'm doing real estate full time, it's gotten harder because I'm less on my social media during the day. So
now you're out there hustling. I know you got to time block it in because social media is a full-time job.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, it is. But it's your biggest promoter of your business. I swear, people aren't doing.
And it's free. I mean, it's like people used to pay for. Okay, so I went to a radio show this morning. Oh, I won it by donating into so there's a nonprofit out here called Community Comadres, which is like a Hispanic group that like they're trying to elevate the women who are in business and entrepreneurship.
Love that. Yeah.
And so they had these silent auction things, and I was like, why isn't anybody bidding on the radio experience? Everyone wants like the plane tickets and the hotels and the things, which are awesome. But like, I was like, the radio, do you know how expensive it is to be on the radio? I was like, I'm going to do that. And I won it. Best donation I've done. I'm like, and I get this money back because it's a donation. And the gal who runs the show, she actually is she's the one running the nonprofit. So I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is a great relationship to grow. And so
Totally.
we had some really good conversations with her, like, hey, you should have a trust. And we started talking about all these things that like more people should know about. She's like, I had no idea. I was like, man, so now I'm looking forward to being able to give back to her community she's building and kind of educate people on those things. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love all that. Love it so much.
Yeah.
Last question is, what impact do you hope to leave with the audience?
I hope that people who get into this business know that there isn't just one way, there's many ways, and it's whatever way feels the goodest for you.
I love that.
I don't want to say the best, but the good. Like I want it to feel good for you. Like that, just like when you're drinking your water every day because it's good for you. Just when you're eating all your protein, it's good for you. Like your business should be good for you. It shouldn't just feel like this angst. And so that would be it. And again, my journey is a little different. I was more complicated because I had to balance a W-2. Luckily, I have an amazing husband who's super supportive with all the things and time commitments I make for other things other than our family. But we still spend a lot of family time together. You know, that's what the weekends are for right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's what I hope your audience kind of
love that. Love that.
I mean, that's exactly what we preach. So
yeah,
do what's goodest for you. You need to make that a shirt.
Yeah, the goodest.
The goodest.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for jumping on.
I know.
Please tell Mark that we said hi.
Yes.
We love you guys, and I mean, it's just cool to see people that we've been with, you know what I mean, for years, and like all the different paths all of our crews are taking. Like we're all in real estate, but we're doing different things. And then I get to sit down and talk to you, and now I'm like thinking about assisted living here in Hawaii. Like it's just so cool, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you giving us this time, and can't wait to see you guys in person again. We will. It either has to be down here, which I think you guys need to come here, or it will be up there. So yeah. I'll take option one. Okay. There you go. Thank you. Please. There you go. Right on. Right. Well, we appreciate you. Yeah, appreciate you. Right on, you guys. Peace out. Thank you. Have a good day.